Welcome to another episode of the Chicago Business Review. Today, I am super excited for our conversation and our guest. We have on the show today Eric Peterman. He is the co-founder and CEO of GRNE Solar since 2012, and they recently merged with Nelnet Renewable Energy, and he now serves as the managing director of EPC services. Eric is a graduate of Northwestern University here in Evanston, where he graduated with an industrial engineering degree while playing wide receiver for the Wildcats, and then was drafted or played for the Chicago Bears prior to this endeavor with solar energy. I know I have so many questions because this is a topic that I've been very interested in, as well as a lot of my clients who are looking for other options as electricity costs keep skyrocketing. So I'm so excited to bring on our guest, Eric Peterman, today. Eric, thanks so much for joining us, my man.
Young, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited to be part of Chicago Business Review today.
Oh, thank you, Eric. And me and Eric have known each other for quite some time. Eric was my landlord when I had my own real estate brokerage years ago. And he was growing and thriving in his solar business. And now they've expanded exponentially through a number of states throughout the U.S., but serves a lot of the clients here in the Chicagoland market as well. So first, Eric, I know a lot of our listeners and viewers still don't know a lot about solar energy. So can you kind of break down what it is and what services you guys provide?
Yeah, absolutely, Young. So in the title, you had mentioned that, I'm director of EPC services. And usually the first question I get is, what does EPC mean? And it stands for what we do. It stands for engineering, procurement, and construction. So we engineer your solar energy system for you. We procure, we buy the materials on your behalf. And then we physically have the electricians and the solar installers to come install it on your home. So that's one thing that's been very important for us, is to try to be able to be everything to our customer from a one-stop shop, meaning that when you decide to do solar with Nelnet Renewable Energy, we're able to provide all the services that you need, and we don't have to go find multiple subcontractors to bring to your home or business to complete the job. So what we do is provide the full gamut and the turnkey solution for our customers. And what that looks like, we have our internal sales team that we provide education and consulting to our customers. Is solar right for you on your home or business? And what does that look like financially? Help you understand the savings model, moving through contracting into our engineering phase, and then ultimately through permitting. We procure the permits on your behalf with your city or your village, and then we physically come install it on your property as well. So that's the high-level overview of generally the services that we can provide for you.
That's amazing. So you guys literally take care of everything from informing the people of the benefits, and then from beginning to end, you take care of all of the steps so that the consumer or the homeowner or the business owner doesn't have to get involved or deal with any of that paperwork. So that's incredible. Now, how would you explain it as, like, if somebody did call in and was inquiring about solar energy or getting solar energy for their property, how do you determine if it is beneficial for them or not? Or is it always beneficial for people to switch over?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is not always the best solution for everybody. So, and we're honest about that. We're not going to force something on a customer that it does not make sense for. One maybe baseline understanding that's important to know about solar and how solar works from the technical side. Most people have seen a solar panel before. They have an idea of kind of what that looks like. But those solar panels are wired together. They collect the UV rays from the sun. They knock electrons around inside the chemistry of what's in that solar panel. And that's how the electricity is made. It's knocking those electrons around, creating that energy. And then that energy is pushed down through electrical wires into your existing electrical panel that you have on your property, either your home or your business. So that electricity is being created from the solar panels. It's pushed down into your electrical panel that turns on your TV, turns on your computer, turns on your refrigerator. So it powers any loads that you have on your property first. And then the important thing to know is that, let's say you're not home or you're on vacation or it's a weekend and you're not at your business, that solar is still going to produce energy for you, but you might not need it on your property. So there's a concept called net metering that the utilities have, where you push that energy back to ComEd or whoever your utility provider is, and they will credit you that same amount on your bill. So what that means is you don't have to worry about lost energy that you're creating and not getting compensated for that. This net metering concept allows you to bank all of the credits that the energy panels that you bought are providing service to you. So it powers anything in your home or business first, and then it pushes the excess to the utility grid, and then the utility company provides that credit to you on your bill.
That's incredible, because I'm almost certain a majority of people would not have known that or known even how the solar energy works. So I'm going to ask you another very basic question that I get from my clients that are looking to buy or sell houses is, like, what happens if it's overcast for a number of days or it's raining or such? Like, can you run out of solar energy, and then are you still connected on the grid with the utility companies as well?
Yeah, great question. And that's kind of the next step. The answer is yes, you are still connected to your utility grid. So you're actually getting power from your solar panels and you're getting power from your utility company at the same time. So if it's shady out or if there's snow on the roof or on your solar panels, you will still have power coming from ComEd or your utility provider. So you won't be without power because you didn't make enough solar energy for the needs that you have. So you get the best of both worlds, essentially. If your power can be sourced from your electric, from the solar panels that you have on your property, that's the first source. And then if you need any supplemental, you're still connected to the utility grid. So you're not going to be without power.
Okay. No, that's really helpful to know, because I know a lot of people have mentioned or asked me that question of, well, what happens like if it's overcast? Do we lose power for a certain number of days? So right. That cleared that up. Now, what other factors do you usually go over with consumers that are looking to get solar energy? Like, what factors do you go over with them to see if it would be beneficial or not for them?
Yeah. The first thing we'll do, Young, is we will ask for your utility bill to see how much energy are you using on a monthly basis today. What's your baseline load, or what's your base case for how much energy you're using on a monthly basis? And we do that because we don't want to over-design your system to where you're producing way too much energy, or and we also want to make sure that we're accurately predicting what your savings are going to be based on your current energy needs. So once we have your existing utility bills and we know how much energy you're using on a monthly basis, how much your rates are and what you're paying, then we're able to design the system to meet your needs. And we try to design, when possible, if there's enough space available on your property, to 100% offset, or even a little bit more in case you are buying an electric vehicle in the future, or if you see needs increasing in the future. That's kind of the ideal scenario. But even if you are only able to offset 50% of your bill, it's still going to be beneficial to you from a financial perspective. So getting that baseline, what's your current usage, what's your current rates, that allows us to help design the system that's best for you, and also predict and show you what the cash flows and the savings model will look like for you.
That's incredibly helpful. And that therefore, like, you guys tailor every situation differently. So there's not like a uniform package, but you go based upon the energy that is used for that particular home or that client's needs.
Yeah, exactly. We're not pushing some, out of the box, it has to be cookie cutter this. Every system we design is custom for what your energy usage needs are and what your available space on your roof or on your property are. It has to be a customized design.
So if they don't have space on their roof, do you guys set it up in a different location? Because I've, again, only seen panels like on people's roofs, at least here. Are there other places that you guys would then put the panels?
Yeah. So most systems are what's called behind the meter, meaning on your side of the utility meter, where if you put solar panels on your house, if you put solar panels on your business building, we are going to connect that directly to your existing electrical infrastructure. You are going to benefit by that energy that's powered. You might have driven by a cornfield and seen loads of solar panels out in the cornfield, and you're wondering, where's all that power going? Or why is that in the middle of a cornfield? In those cases, that's what's called a community solar array, or potentially a utility scale solar array. So the power that's produced from those solar farms is going directly to the utility. So it's not tied to an individual property owner or an individual home or anything like that. That's going directly to the utility company. And if you live in an apartment and you don't have access to a roof, or you just don't want solar panels on your roof, you can actually subscribe to community solar farms within your utility territory and still get the benefit of reduced cost on your electric bill from solar panel electricity generation. So just to recap that point, you put solar on your building or your home, you can directly get the benefit from that power that's created. Or option two, if you don't have the ability to put solar on your property, you can subscribe to a community solar farm and get the credits on your bill that way.
And are those like community solar farms like located in most areas, or is that only in specific markets that people can access that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is state specific in terms of what's available, but as long as that community solar array is within the same utility provider that you are, it doesn't have to be in your same town. It doesn't have to be within a certain, number of miles. As long as that community solar farm is connected to the ComEd infrastructure and you are a ComEd ratepayer, you can get that benefit no matter where that community solar farm is located.
And so then how does that model work? Because you're not paying necessarily for the panels or renting them. So you're paying the people that have the panels like a fee, and I'm assuming then that fee is cheaper than you getting electricity from your utility company. Is that my correct understanding?
Generally, yes, that is correct. There's a lot that goes into that, and maybe I won't get into all the details on it. It's very complicated on what happens from the capital injection standpoint and how all that flows. But I think the important thing to know is that if I'm a ratepayer, whether a business or a homeowner with ComEd or whoever your utility provider is, you can, and in Illinois, we're in what's called a deregulated utility market. You can choose who your supplier of energy is. It doesn't have to be ComEd. It can be Constellation, it can be NRG, or it can be a community solar farm. So ComEd still owns all the power lines and the infrastructure that brings that power to your home, but you can buy the source of that power from whoever is available. They're called alternative retail electric suppliers, ARES. And you're right. Subscribing to a community solar farm is generally more affordable, or they try to design it that way, than what the base ComEd rate would be.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's so helpful, because I feel like people don't know that, or they feel like they only have one option when it comes to utilities and energy like that. So,
and you might have, I'll add one thing on that too, Young. You might have seen flyers come in the mail. That's typically where you'll get solicitations for subscribing to community solar farms. So you might get something in the mail, and it explains the opportunity there. So I would say that would be one place to look out for that, or certainly go to the internet and start searching for community solar options within your state.
But that is not something that you guys necessarily work directly with, correct? Because you guys work on installing them on the properties themselves.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is something that's likely not going to benefit us as a company. It's just education for the community. But what we do, Young, is we actually partner with developers to build those solar arrays. So we have built a number of those large solar arrays that you might see out in an open field. So that's where we provide the service. We do not do the subscription. So that would be another provider.
Awesome. No, and that's why I was so excited to have Eric on today, because he is one of the most generous people that I've met and encountered, and he's always looking to just provide value and really just help you make the right decision. And so if you guys have any questions about solar energy, or you've been thinking about installing it for your home or your business, please reach out to Eric and his team. We'll have all of their contact information so that you can reach out to them to find out more. Because as you can see, Eric is not in this just to make money, but he really does want to make a difference in the environment as well as in people's lives. So, Eric, I love this conversation so far. Another question that I know I get asked a lot, and so I wanted to definitely ask you, is what's the difference between owning the solar panels versus renting or leasing them?
Yeah, it's certainly a common question that comes up. And there's great options, a number of ways to finance the purchase of a solar energy array. And there's really three main ones, I would say. One is pay cash. So if you want solar panels on your home, we'll design the system for it. You pay cash, and you, just like if you would buy any other appliance or something on your home. The second option would be loan. We have loan options, usually to the extent of 20, 25 years, just like maybe a home loan, where you can finance the system. And we can provide you the options and what the monthly payment would be for that. So in that case, you would still own all of the equipment, just like you own your home. There would just be a loan that you would pay off monthly for the system purchase. And then the third option, which is what you were referring to, Young, as in renting or leasing your solar array, is where a company maybe like Nelnet Renewable Energy would own the system. We would put it on your property, and then you would pay us monthly for the energy that's created. So it's very similar in this third option as the way you work right now without solar panels, where you just pay the utility company for however much energy you use every month. We would design the system, put the solar panels on your home, and you would pay $0 for that. We would upfront the capital, and then you would just pay us over 25 years for the energy that's created on a monthly basis. And again, you're probably going to ask, well, how does that compare to my current utility bill? And obviously, we try to design it to where it's a net savings for our consumers. So you pay $0 up front for that, and then you just pay us a reduced amount than you're currently paying on your existing utility bill.
Why wouldn't more people decide to do that? Is that just a lack of awareness and knowledge, or what other reasons would people not want to do something like that?
I think that's a fantastic question, Young. You should probably ask some of the people that you know, and so maybe some of the listeners and others. But I would say the honest answer to that is, like you said, it's just education. It's solar is so new still. The industry's so young that a lot of people still don't have a full understanding of what it is, how it works, and how the savings flow. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just helping get solar to be more market viable and visible, and educating people to how this works. Because it is extremely beneficial, both from independent, being able to provide your own power, and then also from a cost savings perspective as well. A lot of people won't do solar unless it makes sense. Some people still will, even if it costs more, but most people are making decisions based on financial metrics, and that's what we try to strive to provide that value to our customers.
That's incredible, and that's why I felt like this was such a timely interview to just get it more out there, because I know with the increase in technology as well as the increase in electrical vehicles and things of that nature, that there's just a higher demand for electricity. And so when do people typically see the savings from this investment? And is it different, obviously, from if you were to purchase it versus leasing the system from you guys? But is there a rough range at which people are like, okay, this is when I start making my money back, or start seeing the financial benefits that you were mentioning?
Yeah. So let's go back to the three options of how to finance it. And we'll start maybe with the renting one first. Okay. So if you pay $0 up front, we put the system on for you, and then you just pay us monthly, you're going to start seeing savings immediately, because you're paying $0 for the infrastructure and you're paying reduced amount on your utility bill. So that one's easy, because that one's up front. Now, if you're paying cash, option one, or if you're taking out a loan, option two, you own the equipment, you're putting up the capital for that. And then there's tax credits that help bring that cost down, and I can work through that here in a minute. But generally, I would say on a home, Young, in Illinois, the payback is probably somewhere between 5 to 7 years in terms of break even. And then on a business, there's actually some additional tax credits. So that becomes even lower in terms of the break even points, usually between 3 and 5 years, or sometimes even shorter than that. And then the next question that people will ask is, well, how long will these solar panels work for? So your break even is somewhere between 3 and 7 years, but the solar panels are warranted for 25 plus years. So what that means is you're paying upfront for, let's call it 5 years of energy. You're prepaying for 5 years of energy that you're getting 25 years worth. So you're getting 20 years of energy for free.
That's incredible. And that was the next question I was going to ask. So I'm like, oh man, I might not even need to be here, and I just have you ask and answer all of your own questions.
We get a lot of questions. We've heard them before.
I would imagine you heard them all, because again, it is, even though it's been around for a while and you started it up in 2012, it still feels like a very new thing for most consumers out there. And so I really appreciate you sharing and giving this information and advice. I guess you kind of mentioned it, but just so that I clarify, whether a person purchases the panels or they lease them from you, if a panel were to get damaged by hail or something like that, is that something then they have to file an insurance claim for, or that's covered under that warranty that you were talking about?
Yeah, so the 25-year warranty is for any manufacturer defects. So if something were to go bad with the module because of the way it was manufactured, that would be covered, and that would be replaced. External factors like weather, hail, baseball, whatever it might be, those would be just like, your roof or your home, where it would be covered under your home insurance policy. So it's very typical that you can add solar panels to your home insurance policy for very small amount of money. And then if something were to happen, then that would be covered by your insurance.
Okay, great. Now, if a panel got damaged it's possible to just fix and replace that one panel, or would you have to fix or replace like a whole section because they're all kind of tied in together?
Yeah, great question. And I should say too, these things are pretty durable.
Okay.
They're made out of aluminum frames and they're plexiglass on the front, so they're made to be hail resistant. They are very strong. We've put them to the test in a lot of different scenarios. But they're very durable. We hardly ever see too much of an issue. Yes, the answer is if one is damaged, you can replace just that single solar panel. You don't have to take the whole array off or anything like that. As long as we can access it, we can just swap out that one solar panel and plug it back in, and then you're up and running from there.
That's extremely helpful to know. And it's also great to know that, and it would make sense that they are very durable and very resistant to nature and such, since that's what they were built to withstand. So,
right.
But I'm sure that a lot of homeowners and consumers have that fear. So I'm glad you were able to kind of debunk that for them. Another fairly silly, basic question, but like, what happens if the person has to fix their roof or change their roof, or does it prolong the life of a roof because there's an extra covering on it? Like, what happens in those scenarios where it's like you have to make a repair to the roof itself and not necessarily the panel?
Yeah, a lot of great points that you just brought up. And that's probably one of the main drivers, I would say, that we might say solar is not a good fit for your property, is if you're thinking about replacing your roof in the next 3 to 5 years, we'd probably recommend you to wait and do solar once you have a new roof. And the reason being, in order to replace that roof, we would have to remove the equipment, and we could still reuse it, but you're going to pay extra labor for us to come remove it from your roof, have your roofer put the new roof on, and then us put your solar panel system back together. So that's how you would do it if you needed a repair or if you needed to replace your roof. But if you're going to do that in the next few years, we would probably recommend you wait. We can still do it if you want to proceed forward. Now, the other point that you made, which is a great one, and why we usually suggest do solar right after you have a new roof or the fairly new roof, is because the solar panels will protect your roof. If you think about having another, shield in front of the roof, it's going to take all the weathering. That means that your roof isn't taking all that hail and rain and weathering that you would normally see. So the answer is yes, the solar panels will protect your roof and prolong the life of your roof as well.
That's awesome. And another huge benefit of having solar energy and solar panels for your home. So if you are listening and watching and you've had any thoughts about getting solar energy, again, please reach out to Eric and his team. They are experts in this field, very knowledgeable, but more than that, they genuinely care for your best interest. And that's how Eric and his team have been able to grow so exponentially over the years and recently expanded even further. So I guess going backwards a little bit then, what made you decide to get into solar energy the 11 years ago, considering even now it's still a semi-new field or technology to most people?
Yeah. I'll give you the short version.
All right.
I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial bug. Both my parents were entrepreneurs and started their own businesses. But after graduating and then finishing, my football career, I was working for United Airlines and pricing airfare. And I was sitting in a cubicle every day, and I just realized that I didn't want to do that forever. So I found a business partner, and we started a renewable energy business. And we actually started in wind, and we did a couple wind projects, and then we diversified into solar. And we did that so that we could fund our wind business. And solar took off so much that we're like, we're going to stick with solar. This works.
Yeah.
But 11 years ago, if you think about solar in the Midwest, 11 years ago, there was none. Nobody was thinking about solar. It was happening in California, and it was happening in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, but we knew it was just a matter of time before it was going to come to the Midwest. So we kind of put our stake in the ground and said, this is going to be our territory. And that's where we've focused our target market. And we like to say we were doing solar in the Midwest before solar was sexy or before solar was cool. And now you see a lot more solar here. So thank God we were in the right place at the right time. And it's been a fun ride since then.
No, that's an incredible story. Because I have seen a little bit more in terms of solar companies popping up, but I know you have been doing it for over a decade here. And that's such an incredible story in terms of you doing that. And you did talk about briefly, and I had mentioned it in the intro, but you played football at a very high level, at the highest level, actually. Going from Northwestern and then being able to play for the Chicago Bears as a wide receiver, which has got to be most people's dreams, and you got to live it for a period of time. And of course, you might have wanted that career to go a little longer, but it didn't play out that way. And now here you are, just being on the forefront of solar energy here. But how was that transition from going from being an athlete to going into the real world and getting into the business world? Like, was that a big challenge? And what were some lessons that you were able to take away from your career in sports to the business world?
Yeah, absolutely learned a ton from being an athlete, competing at the highest level, and carrying that over to the business world as well. Certainly a lot of great memories at Northwestern University, and then to go on and play for the Chicago Bears. I'm born and raised in Illinois, so to be able to play high school football, college football, professional football, all in Illinois was like you said, a dream come true. And being able to have my family support me all along the way as well. But I'll never forget being on the Chicago Bears field and really just having a surreal moment and looking around. I came from a very small town in central Illinois, but looking around, being on Jay Cutler's offense and Lovie Smith, the head coach, and Devin Hester was standing right next to me, and Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, and just, those were the guys that I was hanging out with on a daily basis. And it was very cool experience, but definitely learned a ton. And it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and there's no difference. And it's a business. The NFL is a business, and you've got to come to play and compete, and you got to win. Otherwise, you're not going to stick around. And unfortunately, I got injured during a preseason game that ended up exiting my NFL career. But the lessons that I learned from being in that arena and competing and bringing those over to the business world, doing interviews after I left with potential job opportunities, I would love to question, well, what makes you different from the next candidate? And I could say, every week I would go out into the arena. I would have 80 to 100,000 people in the stands watching me do my work. And I had a team that was counting on me. So I'm battle tested being a team member, and my team counting on me to come through and deliver, and operating under pressure, with thousands of people watching on to make sure that we're doing it the right way. And carrying that forward, into the business is really significant, and just competing and winning. And it's no different in the business world. I'm very competitive, as I'm sure you can imagine, but making sure that we're doing the best for our employees and our customers, and competing and winning to the best of our ability. And those are some of the things that I'll carry with me for my whole life that help me succeed on the football field and help me succeed in the business world as well.
That's such a great answer. And yeah, I love hearing that story. And another reason, I cannot stress this enough, why, if you are thinking about getting solar energy, there really should be no one else you would want to talk to other than Eric and his team at Nelnet. So please reach out to them. As you can see, he is very knowledgeable. He is very caring, but he also is a extremely hard worker and very intelligent and diligent at his craft. So he's always looking to improve not only what they're doing as a business, but the services that they can provide for you as the consumer. So I love that story. What is one thing, I know we're going on this tangent, but me also being a lifelong Chicagoan, just what's one thing that like you hear from regular people or weekend warriors that you're just like, oh man, you have no idea now that you've seen it at the highest level? Like, because, you know, there's so many people out here that are like, oh, how could they do that? Or, oh, I could have done that or something like that. Like, what do you think is one of the biggest misunderstandings or myths that most like weekend warriors have about like professional athletes?
Yeah, I think how I would respond to that is most people only see when the game is happening and how you're performing, you know, when the lights are on. And to be able to see what happens when you're not in the spotlight is something that, you know, is really hard to fathom, and the work that goes into leading up to that time when you step onto the field or into the arena. And in football specifically, you know, my experience is we had so many meetings and so much game planning and everything that went in Monday through Saturday to get ready for the game on Sunday. And that's where I think a lot of people don't see that. Most people just think, oh, he's a great athlete. He goes out on the field and he does his thing playing football. There's so much strategy and game planning and learning new plays each week, learning how to read a defense, learning how to understand the blocking scheme, learning how to understand the rotation of the safeties and the cornerbacks. There's so much cerebral activity that goes on that I think a lot of people don't really appreciate. And I'm sure that's like that for every sport. It's just the prep work and the anticipation leading up to that game. It's a full-time job plus of meetings and planning that I think a lot of people don't get the ability to see and don't have the perspective of.
Yeah, no, that's so great. And I think that that's such a metaphor also for people that are succeeding in any aspect of life, is that people tend to just focus on the end product. Oh, look at them. Oh, they're so successful. It must have been so easy. But in fact, they weren't there when us as entrepreneurs are like, oh my goodness, is this going to work? Oh, I got to make some more calls. I got to do, you know, every aspect of the business to get it off the ground and running. And
Yep.
People only see the end result, but they don't see all the sweat and tears and work that went in behind the scenes to get to that point. And for all of our younger listeners or people that are thinking about getting into business, this is a life lesson where it is, there are no shortcuts. It is putting in the work. Hopefully you've been blessed with some skills and talents, but at the end of the day, to be elite at something, it doesn't happen just because you want it to happen or because you have these natural gifts. There are so many people that are great at math or are great athletes that will never sniff being a professional or executing at the highest level because they just didn't have the work ethic and the preparation that it takes to be at that level. So I really appreciate that insight. I feel like that's super valuable for anybody that's looking to start and or grow in their whatever they're trying to do. I guess now tying it or going back into the real reason why we're talking is for solar energy, you were mentioning also about potential tax benefits or tax savings. what are some things that people can take advantage of? And then are there deadlines at which they need to try and execute on those things?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it back up, Young. I know we mentioned it earlier. So there are certainly a lot of lucrative incentives available for solar energy. To start with, on the federal level, there's what's called the investment tax credit, the ITC, that starts at 30%. So that's available to both homeowners and business owners. If you are purchasing your solar energy system, 30% you can take as a tax credit. So that goes against your liability, your tax liability. In addition to that, if you're a business owner, you can depreciate the system just like you would any other equipment that you would purchase for your business. So there's additional tax savings there, depending on what your tax rate is. That will vary, but usually that's on par with sometimes the 20-30% ITC level. The new Inflation Reduction Act that was passed in the past 12-18 months or so has added additional value to the investment tax credit depending on certain circumstances. So your 30% could actually increase to 40, 50, 60% if you meet certain criteria. So we're happy to help walk through that and see if you would qualify, but those end up being significant tax savings that even add more value to the financial play of purchasing solar. So those are the main ones: the 30% federal tax credit, the depreciation of your system if you're a business, and then also specifically in the state of Illinois, there's an incentive called a Renewable Energy Credit, or a REC, and those are paid from the utility companies to the consumers. And they are highly valuable, and that's a check that comes directly to you. And the reason that they incentivize people to go solar is because if Young puts solar on his home or his business, that helps with the overall demand that the utility company has. So they're able to run more efficiently because they don't have to add more power generation to their infrastructure. So they would rather incentivize Young to go put solar on his house so that the utility company doesn't have to pay for more power generation infrastructure.
That sounds like a no-brainer for almost everybody to get solar panels on their homes. And I know we had briefly mentioned about this earlier, but do you guys work in other markets other than the Chicagoland market? And if so, where else could they reach out to you if they're living somewhere other than Chicagoland, but still want to work with you and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. We have offices in 7 different states right now. And if we are not in a state, we've done work in 14 different states. We can certainly help either advise you or potentially, still work with you even if you're not in a state that we have a physical office. So please reach out, even if you're not in a state that we currently cover. But we have offices in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, and New York. So if you're in any of those 7 states, we're happy to talk to you and physically install stuff for you. And even if you're not, like I said, reach out. Happy to be a sounding board or answer questions or any value that we can provide just through education. We're happy to do that as well.
Yeah. So as you can see, even if you are not in the state of Illinois, if you need solar power, Eric and his team should be the first point of contact, because he's going to shoot it to you straight and tell you only what you need. And if it is not beneficial for you at this time, they will let you know. So there is no loss, no obligation, and it's a great way for you to find out more information about solar. So I can't believe how much time has already passed, Eric. I had so many other questions. So hopefully we can have you on again as you guys continue to grow and progress, and there continues to be additional benefits that people become aware of regarding solar energy. But has there been any question that maybe I didn't ask that you tend to get asked pretty frequently from consumers or people trying to find out more about solar?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot here. We covered warranties. So warranties are 25 plus years. So you know that you can be guaranteed that your solar panel is going to produce for at least 25 years. Most people will ask for a high level financial breakdown. And, it's easy to run through that on the residential level. Most people will say, well, how much does it cost to go solar? So most homes it depends again on how much you're using on a monthly basis, but the upfront cost is usually somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. So that would be kind of your total cost for solar energy. Now that's before any of those tax credits and incentives that we mentioned. So
Wow.
if you're at $30,000 for a system, 30% of that you get back from a tax credit, plus you get the Illinois RECs as well. Usually that cuts the system costs down by 50-60%. So then
Wow.
you're left, with a net cost of, around 40% of that $30,000. And then that's where that takes the energy savings to pay off in those 5 to 7 years. So a lot of people will ask that. I know I kind of quickly ran through that, but that's kind of the high level financial breakdown of what people will see if you're a residential homeowner. And then the last thing I always talk about when people ask, well, what other questions should I be asking? And you mentioned this earlier, a lot of solar companies are popping up. It's a young industry. I'm also the vice president of the Illinois Solar Energy Association. So trying to do my best to make sure we have good policy in place, and that the biggest thing that we focus on is consumer protection. And with a ton of new companies popping up and being such a young industry, we do not want to see people get and take advantage of. And we've seen that with some folks that have come into Illinois or other places and make some money and then they're gone. Make sure you can find somebody that you can trust. That is probably the biggest point that I can say is continue to ask questions. Make sure you understand everything that you're getting into. And again, we are happy to advise whether you decide to go with us or not. We are happy to advise and make sure that you feel comfortable about the decision that you're making for solar.
So incredible, my man. So incredible. I really appreciate you taking the time. As I mentioned before, you guys are in hyper growth mode right now, and you guys are expanding, and that's a testament to just the way that you and your team operate and run a business, and that's why they've been growing so much. So please, if you have been thinking about solar energy, reach out to Eric and his team. Eric, what are some of the ways that they can reach out to you and your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So our name is Nelnet Renewable Energy. We just rebranded a couple weeks ago, so I'm still getting used to saying that. But Nelnet Renewable Energy is our name. Nelnetenergy.com is our website. So feel free to go to nelnetenergy.com to find more information about us and what we do. And we are on all the social medias. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the social medias as well.
Great. So we'll have all of that information in the show notes below. So again, if you guys have any thoughts or questions about solar energy, please reach out to Eric and his team. Not only is he a wealth of knowledge, but he is genuinely one of the most authentic people that I've met and encountered. And he will definitely do right by you and your family and your loved ones. So whether it's you or someone you know that's looking to get into solar energy, please share their information. And if you found value in this episode, which I can't imagine that you did not find any value in this episode, please leave a comment, share the episode with anyone that's looking for solar energy or just had questions about it so that they have a baseline understanding. And then after that, reach out to Eric and their team so that they can educate you even further and show you not only the benefits to society as a whole for going with solar energy, but also the financial benefits that you will incur from going this route. So I know that we jam-packed a lot of information there, and we're running late on time. But I wanted to thank Eric again, and please, please, please reach out to him and his team. And if you found value in this episode, please like, comment, share. That way we know that we're providing you with guests that are bringing you value, because that's what's most important to us. So thank you, Eric. And once again, for myself, thank you everyone for listening and watching this week's episode of the Chicago Business Review.